Hi, in this video I want to give you an introduction and a little overview of the software application Adobe Lightroom Classic. This application is very powerful, very important. It is really the standard application for most serious amateur and professional photographers. It's pretty amazing, and we're going to be using it throughout this course, and you'd be using it in many of the future courses. I want to go ahead and open it up, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. You see that I have Ideal Student plugged in here, and I also have Lightroom. Here it is. And actually, I need to update it, but this is a fine version for demonstration. So I have Lightroom installed, and normally with applications, if you've played with any of these like Photoshop or Illustrator or Microsoft Excel, any of those, you would actually get started just by clicking on or finding the application and launching the application. But I'm not going to do it that way because Lightroom is a little different in a key way that I have to say is likely to throw you off occasionally in the months to come, but we're going to keep going over it until it makes perfect sense to you. So instead, I'm going to click on Ideal Student, and I'm going to go into Demo, and I'm going to go down to this folder which says Lightroom Sarah Demo. And I'm going to find, actually it's this one because I upgraded it. So it says Ideal Student -2.lrcat. This is a file. This is not an application, but you notice that it is a Lightroom application. It says LRCAT, and that stands for catalog, and LRCAT is the extension. So this is a file, not the application. It's my file. It's my catalog of a specific group of photographs. So let me just launch it so I can explain this to you a little bit more. Okay, so instead of launching it from the application, I launch it from the catalog. Now, in most applications, for instance, I'll just go ahead and open Photoshop here for a second, and I'll open a file in Photoshop. You might be familiar with Photoshop. I'll just open this one. Oh, this is good. Okay, so this is just a single photo. I just grabbed it randomly. And so when we open up in Photoshop, I'll go into a full view, we're in what we call the application frame. And you notice that it's just Photoshop. We're in this file. That's a particular file that's mine, but the application is Photoshop. Okay, let me get out of there and show you something very different in Lightroom. So we are in Lightroom, and here's the application frame. And look up at the top of the application frame. You can see that there is that same designation, this LRCAT. It's I'm in my catalog. So I'm logged in as Sarah Barsness. I'm in Adobe Lightroom Classic, but I'm also in my catalog. And this is really important because Lightroom works in a very specific way. Well, let me show you around, and then I'm going to come back. In this module, I'm going to give you this overview, and then in the two videos that you're going to watch in this module, I'm going to really just go over the library and some stuff about importing and exporting some images. But right now, I just want to show you through. So let's go ahead and go down here so I can give you a little clearer view of what this might look like. I'm just going to open up into photo 29. You'll recognize, I'll go all the way down, you'll recognize the photos that I imported that I downloaded the other day and that we organized. I have now imported them into my Lightroom catalog, and it shows up there on the side. So this is the library module. I'm going to go ahead and show you all the way through and then come back and talk about the specifics of the library module. And this may look like other development or software applications that you've been in if you've worked in Adobe Bridge, for example, or even in Picasa or some of the other development ones where you see all of those thumbnails. And it is, in some senses, it's very similar. The next module is development. I'm going to really briefly show you this week, and later we're going to really get into detail about everything here because we want to have a strategy to approach it, but I'll let you play with a few of the basic tools. This is an interesting module. This is the map module. So one of the things, sorry, I want to make sure that I'll point this out. Notice that as we move from module to module, notice that these sidebars, this information that's happening on the side changes. This is the map module. It's pretty cool. I don't really use it, but I'm just going to point it out because you're going to see it and say, what the heck is that? Because most cameras are equipped with GPS now, you can actually tag them and they will show up and you'll be able to see where they are on a map. And this is kind of fun and very handy for certain professional photographers, especially travel photographers. I'm not going to teach you the map module. You're free to explore it on your own. The book module we won't do in this class, but I do use the book module. Oh, it's running a little bit slow. Come on now. I do use the book module. There we go. I do use the book module in a couple of other classes that we teach. The book module, and I'm not sure I have one loaded in here. It looks like I don't. This is a blank book. But the book module is a great way to put together books for publication, or they can be PDFs, so we use it in portfolio, and sometimes we use it in earlier classes. Slideshow, again, it's a handy one for some people. I don't use slideshow much, but this is a place where you can create slideshows. Print, when we teach on campus, this is very important. We won't be doing it in the online classes, but when we get back to campus, or if you decide to take a class on campus in the future, we will be covering this in more detail. I'll go over some of these details so you can do some of this work at home if you have a printer available, but it's not a formal part of this course. And then lastly, we have web. And again, I may get into this a little bit more, but this is just to produce images for the web. And so this can be very handy. For this course, we are going to be primarily in library to start, and then in development, and a little bit in print. So let's go back to library so I can describe this. So library, just as you might figure, the library is your library. This is where all your images are. Now, let me emphasize again. I want to just pull this aside so you can see. This is Ideal Student, and this is where my files live. My files are in here. They are actually in these folders, right? They are not in Lightroom. Lightroom is an application, and your catalog is like a library catalog, literally like a library catalog. It knows where your photos are. It can pull them up and help you to work with them and check them out and do things with them. But your photos are still wherever it was that you initially put them. And when I talk about importing, I'm going to re-emphasize that because that's why building a great folder structure to start can be very helpful in getting started in Lightroom. Okay, and I'll demonstrate later on in the library module. You'll see some other things that are important about that. Lightroom doesn't actually, the Lightroom library doesn't see any photos until you import those photos and say, hey, Lightroom, look at these photos. If I open up a new catalog, and I can show you what that looks like. And this is what would happen if I launched it right from the application. So if I create a brand new catalog, I'm going to just put it on the desktop and call it a test. And it's going to actually, notice this, it says, oh, you're going to close this other one, which I'm going to say, okay. It has to close the other catalog. It can only have one catalog open at a time. So it's going to close down my catalog. And it opens up this brand new catalog. And notice up here on the frame, it says test LRCAT. Lightroom catalog. Now, the other thing you should notice about it, we're in library and there is nothing here, nothing at all. It's completely empty. And that is because the catalog is something that you have to actually populate. You fill it, you decide what things need to come in. I'm going to show you how to do that in a different module or in a different video, excuse me. For now, I'm going to close this window out and just go back to my library, to my catalog. Actually, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to open recent. I'm going to go back to Ideal Student 2. It's going to have to close that other one, and we'll go back to that. So I can talk a little bit about how this works. So this is the thing I want to emphasize before we get into the next videos, which hopefully this little back and forth, it probably confused you a little bit, but hopefully gave you a little bit of this idea. I want you to think about an actual, and let me go ahead and pull this down. So I want you to actually think about an actual library. I don't know if you've been to an actual library recently, but think back. And I know most of the libraries at this moment are closed, but think back to going to a library with books on the shelves. In that library, there is always a catalog. And in today's world, that catalog usually is in the form of a computer monitor with software inside of it. It's all of the information about the books that are on the shelves are stored in that computer monitor. And if you want a book about, well, let's just say you want this book, this is a book and you want to, it's a book about the moon and you want to locate it, what do? You go into the catalog and you search for books about moon and you narrow it down, you find the one that's by me, and it says to you, oh, it's over on the shelf called 20 photos and it's the second one in, right? That's how a library catalog works, and that's exactly what's going on here. These photos are not in the catalog, they are recognized by the catalog. These photos are in here. And I'll just go ahead and pull up. I know I like to do this, make this really obvious, so you can see this is the actual shelf. So this is the catalog telling you, oh, it's right there, and this is where it actually is. That's the same photo. This is important. Two things that I want to remind you of, and I will remind you of these again and again until you're sick of hearing it. But first of all, know where your photo files are. Make sure you know where they are. Make sure you know where you put them and that you leave them there. If they get lost out of Lightroom, it doesn't mean they're gone, and we'll get to that later. But you want to know where the actual photos are living. And in this case, they are living on this hard drive. This is just a little illustration telling you about that photo. Now there's a difference because in Lightroom, it's a very powerful kind of catalog. And so this catalog actually is capable of looking into that book, opening it up, tearing up the pages and doing crazy things to it when we go to develop. This catalog is also capable, and this is its real superpower, it's capable of rearranging things on the shelves. Now, I want to warn you, and again, I'm going to remind you of this again and again, Lightroom likes to do these things itself. If you try rearranging the shelves outside of Lightroom, you will be very, very sorry because Lightroom doesn't like it. And again, I'm going to use this library metaphor. So Lightroom is a catalog. So let's pretend you're in the library and the librarian has set the catalog up and all the books are organized by topic, and you decide to break into the library in the middle of the night and reorganize all the books by color instead. So the blue books are here and the red books are here and the yellow books are here. But the catalog is the same. If you open up the catalog and it says, oh, you can find that book on the moon over there, you will suddenly realize it's not there anymore. It's in this random place with the blue books, but the catalog has no idea. And the catalog is going to be completely useless. Okay? Keep that one in mind. All right, so this is Lightroom. Again, Lightroom is the standard for the industry. People use this. Some photographers, especially photographers who deal with massive amounts of photographs, this is the only program they use because they can go start to finish with organization, development, and output. Some photographers, I'm one of them, use Lightroom in conjunction with other programs, particularly Adobe programs like Photoshop and Illustrator, because Lightroom provides a nice home-based organizational tool to keep track of things. Take a little break, come back in a little while, and I'm going to show you in the next two videos, you're going to learn how to actually create your own Lightroom catalog and import your photos in.